what is money and how is Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, really bringing the awareness and the understanding of what is money to the world.
So a lot of people think that we used to have to find a weird thing to trade with someone else just by barter, right? So way back when, if you wanted a cow, the guy only accepted chickens. You'd have to go find a chicken to trade with the guy. That's not true. Never actually happened. It turns out that the first form of money was reciprocity, which means that when you do a thing, you expect someone to act in kind back to you. And that thing that evolved among many creatures, not just humans, where you remember whether you've been treated well and respond in kind, or you remember whether you've been treated poorly and respond in kind, that's actually what money is. So if you think about a family, families in general don't have like a currency, but they still work, they still operate, tasks get divided amongst people, and people kind of understand what fair is. You know, mom and dad go out and make the money, kids do the chores, seems fair and balanced. So that evolved. Once societies got too large to remember an individual's relationship to the other members, they had to start writing it down. So the first thing they did is they had people that had good minds and good memories kind of account for who owed who what, right? And these would become tribal leaders. And then they turned into cities, and then they turned into states, and then they turned into nation states and unions. And, you know, if you believe in conspiracies, maybe we end up with a one world government at some point. So all of these collectivist groups have outperformed the ones that didn't collect. And so Bitcoin is basically the top of that food chain now. So originally we had memory and reciprocity. Then we had marks on sticks. We had marks on papyrus. We had marks in clay. We had Excel spreadsheets. We had government-issued currencies. And so, you know, a lot of people say, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the technology. It's a little bit silly, right? In order to have a good proxy for human energy and effort and time, the only thing we all have the same. We all have the same time. We all have the exact same hours in the day. We all have different opportunities. If you want to account for that stuff, you need another scarce thing to represent it. That's the problem with fiat currencies. If a government wants to come and blow up another country, they don't have to ask you for permission. They don't have to ask you for your money. They don't need your money. They can just print it over there. And so if you worked real hard and you saved for years and years and years, you find out that your bank account's been robbed, but not in the way that you think. You still have the number of dollars that you thought you did, but they don't buy as much anymore. So they continually steal your money without telling you about it by making it worth less by printing on the other side. Bitcoin can solve that, right? And in order for it to solve that, it has to have a huge value. In order for it to have a huge value, a lot of people have to buy a lot of it, and the price has to go up. So when people say, oh, you know, speculation's not that great, it is that great. This stuff only works if it has huge economic mass. And in currencies, it's a competition of which currency has the most liquidity. And the one that you can buy and sell and trade in and not move the market against you is the one that outcompetes all the other ones, right? In the end, money is just language. So if you want to, in the United States, we had a law from the Supreme Court, the Citizens United case, which stated that you couldn't really restrict how a company spent their money to influence an election because it was considered free speech, political speech. And if you can't spend your money, you can't influence politics, you can't execute your will. And by that same token, you know, a lot of this AML, KYC, fake law enforcement that doesn't stop crime, it tries to bother people that have already successfully committed crime and then make it harder for them to hide their money, I guess. You know, that makes it harder for normal people who didn't commit crime, the vast majority of everyone here, to do normal day-to-day things. You know, it shouldn't be nearly impossible to open a bank account, especially if you're an American. And it shouldn't be nearly impossible to, you know, you get on the airplane, they don't accept cash. They just accept cards. Half the people in this country don't accept American Express for whatever reason. It's stupid, right? I should be able to spend my money how I want without all these extra, oh, please, can I spend my money, please? You know, it's stupid. Blockchain can solve a lot of those things, and it can only solve them with a giant economic mass. So if you're just buying and hoping to get rich, that's enough. That's okay. You don't have to be a developer too.